what an unbelievable day. And this is one of the reasons we love college football, man. You're watching and you see Ohio State is beat by Michigan. Texas A&M are going later tonight. So many emotions. Lenora Sellers puts on a show in Death Valley, South Carolina. Reclaims a little bit of rivalry glory with a win today. As Dabo says, it's one win, 1 year. All great stuff. Clemson fans, everybody's angry, everybody's mad. And then lo and behold, Grayson, little old Syracuse rises up in the Loud House and beats Miami. And now where will you be next Saturday night at 8 o'clock?
I will be in Charlotte with you watching the Tigers play a play-in game for the college football playoff. 3-loss Clemson will be playing for their college football destiny in Charlotte against SMU. David, this is what exactly what you said. This is what makes college football fantastic, and especially this new model where I think in the span of 4 hours, Clemson, it was like those probability charts on ESPN where it's 99%, and then out of nowhere you just see it rise from the ashes. So Syracuse was up 21-0. I'm sure Clemson fans are watching this pretty intensely, and you go from, well, it looks like we're going to the Pop-Tarts Bowl to now going, we might have to book a trip to Charlotte here real quick. We just got the Ross Taylor media bomb. We got the schedule for the week. David, it's going to be another fun one, man. It's SMU's a freaking good football team. I cannot wait for this, man.
We went from thinking that it was going to be an easy week around here. Clemson and Kentucky in basketball Tuesday night, 9:30. Don't forget about that one. Really good Kentucky team coming to town. To all of a sudden, hey, got interviews all this week, including Friday in Charlotte, and then an ACC Championship game with a chance to go unbelievably to the college football playoff. This is insane. And I told everybody, like, during the week, people would say, does Syracuse have a chance? No, Miami's just too good. But if you have followed by the seat of their pants, they have had help with officials. They have made some plays late. They have done what they needed to do. But if you've ever been to a game at Syracuse, you know that is not an easy place to play. Brian Brown had them play maybe one of their best offensive games of the year today. Miami goes down, and now Clemson goes to Charlotte to take on. And let's not SMU winning again fairly handily. That's a really good SMU team Clemson's going to face.
So Fran Brown sent champagne to Ohio State for Kyle McCord. What does Dabo send Syracuse after basically gifting him life in the college football playoff race? You mentioned it. SMU is going to be an interesting study this week. A really good football team that I'm sure, just based on how things have been scheduled, SMU's still new to the block. Fans are going to have to learn this team pretty quickly. The Ponies over in Dallas. They're coming to Charlotte on Saturday. They didn't have to worry about anybody securing their destiny for them. Obviously, all the attention's been brought onto the Palmetto Bowl today. We'll get into that as well. David, with the ACC race, Clemson does enough. People might be looking at that Cade Klubnik drive in Pittsburgh as what sealed this opportunity for them. It's going to be a heck of a couple days here to figure out what's going to happen moving forward. But bottom line, Clemson wins and they're in.
Yeah, and look, the SMU is no joke. That defense has been playing really well of late, and of course we'll get into that later. This week we'll talk more, about what SMU has been able to do. But they are second in the league, just behind Miami of Florida in total defense, giving up about 330 yards a game or something like that. And of course, they're pretty good on offense too. They've got that cat Kevin Jennings, the quarterback. He's really good. They're just behind Clemson, I think, in total offense in the conference. So this is going to be fun, but we still have to kind of talk about the bad. Here's the other part of the sandwich. It was a cold, bright, sunshine kind of a day in Death Valley. I saw a chicken use the bathroom on the Tiger Paw logo. I saw grown men taking belts out of their pants and whipping the grass around the Tiger Paw like some deranged people out of some dystopian novel. Welcome to Rivalry Week, I guess. Lenora Sellers goes off. That was it was a fun football game to watch in some parts. And it just kind of highlighted the issues we've known Clemson's had this year. Guys that can get outside. They didn't tackle well. He had 7 runs, it gained 263 yards. That's a lot of yards. And the offense just didn't take advantage of opportunities.
There was a time when Clemson's Achilles heel was turnovers, and today you win the turnover battle in a pretty decent margin, and you get no points out of it. It felt like this at times, and I would love to get your opinion on this just because we are separated by a Nicky Hood during the game, but the offensive play calling to me at times felt a little safe, almost like they were playing, hey, we got control of this. Certain shots maybe were taken when they shouldn't have been, or maybe left and right. It's just a matter of, I guess, opinion. But more on the defense, David, about just getting gashed once again in the rushing game. Lenore Sellers continued to make play after play. I believe he had 16 carries for $160 and a couple touchdowns. Just an incredible performance from him. Any Gamecock fans watching, if he refines his passing game, you guys have got a top 5 pick in a couple years. I'm very confident in saying that.
That kid played extremely well, played with a lot of heart, a lot of guts. Got to tip your cap to him. And let's go to that offense, man. I go back to, there were a couple of drives there late. Clemson had a 3rd and 4 around midfield, and you go, okay, so you've been having a lot of success with just kind of running somebody in on a quick slant or a quick curl and getting first downs, and you throw a shot down the sideline that really didn't have a lot of chance for success. I thought late in the game, play calling was like, what are we doing here? What's going on here? Running Phil Maffa when he was obviously injured. He came off the field at one point. I don't know when it was, second quarter, third quarter, favoring the other shoulder, the one that hadn't been hurt. And you think, well, he's not going to go back in. He does. 20 carries, 66 kind of effective, ineffective yards. And what gets me is that, coaches have to see what we see, right? Phil Moffitt can't get outside. He's lacking that burst. And yet you have a 3rd down play and you pitch it wide to him when Jay Haynes would be the better pick.
Yeah, you and I see the same thing. I think I put something out on Twitter saying Haynes needs more reps. And I think he had, I could check the stat broadcast here real quick. He had 2 carries for 11 yards, and one of the better runs Clemson had all day was a 3rd and 14 where Haynes you could see the change in burst. Moffa's gone from being the difference maker to at times thinking, does he need to walk around with a cane? Like, I just am concerned for the guy's well-being. So for Clemson, maybe we'll see some personnel changes, some packages for that guy. Haynes has certainly earned the right, I think, to be on the field. Antonio Williams said as much last week after the Citadel, saying, hey, this is a cat that he's different, man. He's a dog, and he's not getting the touches that he needs, especially when Phil Moffitt clearly needs a lick or two on the sideline to catch his bearings. And because Moffitt's a special player, we know that, but he's just been the workload, I think, might have been mismanaged by this offensive staff, and it's starting to hurt them later in the year.
Well, let's talk about something good on the offense. I got a text late Friday that said, the starting 5 on the OL is good to go. All right, so that means Tristan Lee, Marcus Tate, Ryan Linthicum, Walker Parks, and Blake Miller. And did you hear about Stewart or Kyle Kennard at all today? You did not, because they were rendered ineffective. They were nowhere to be found. The one sack came from Bam Knight on a play in which I think he probably jumped off sides and didn't get called for it, right? He had 3 steps on the quarterback on that one. I thought the offensive line played extremely well. I thought the play calling could have helped them out a whole lot. But one thing that they did was it looked like they rested Tate and Parks, the 2 guards, on different drives. And so you would see Harris Sewell come in. He'd play left guard on one drive. While Tate was out, then he'd move to right guard, and Parks would go out, and Sewell would play. Sewell played really well. So this group is starting to get a little bit healthy, going into an ACC championship. That's great. Really like what they did. Again, just feel like the running game and the play calling could help these guys out a lot better.
Right, and obviously at the end of the game, you still have a chance to win this one. Lenore Sellers makes one of the best scrambles I've ever seen to put the Gamecocks up 3. And it felt like, David, you could push back on this. This felt exactly like Pittsburgh, only it had the negative consequence for Clemson, where Klubnik's just not able to get it done at the final minute. I felt like he might have been able to pull it out at the 11th hour. They ran down the field with a lot of efficiency. It feels like when this offense runs with some tempo and some pace, they're at their best. It fits their quarterback. It fits the mold of what they're trying to do. And so when they're moving and they're not stationary, it feels like they benefit from it. So maybe that's something that they can pull from against SMU. Maybe we'll see. But the Klubnik rolls out and its pass is picked off. Just Sweeney said it in his post-game press conference that we're not where we are without Cade Klubnik. Wouldn't pin this loss on him. He had a couple throws, though, today that he's going to look back on the film and go, man, we really let this one pass us. I think his most egregious error of the day was sail to pass to Wesco, a wide open slant over the middle of the field. Wesco might still be running based on while we're filming this podcast. A lot of missed opportunities defined today for Clemson.
A lot of missed opportunities. And again, everybody talks about the defense, and they only gave up 17 points, and they were opportunistic in getting turnovers. And there's where a lot of the problem comes with the offense, and that they got the strip on the North Sellers early, right? And boom, they had 4 plays and a punt. They get the strip of, I guess, Rocket Sanders there in the third quarter, 3 plays and a punt. You get the interception, 3 plays and a punt. And you just couldn't get off get the defense off the field for very long. And then another missed opportunity was South Carolina goes for the onside kick. Clemson recovers it at their own 44-yard line. And you go, man, you just got to move it 25 yards and you're in field goal range. And it was 3 plays and out. And I think that was maybe where the long shot was. Roll your quarterback out of the pocket, throw the slant, throw something to the middle of the field. And instead, it's that, and I just 50-50 balls on third down. I hate, absolutely hate it. Peyton Manning or John Elway of the Denver Broncos blocked me on Twitter because of that. Because I felt like there was a stretch there with my Denver Broncos where it would be third down and it was a 50-50 ball on a punt every time, and I just don't like them. So the good news for Clemson is now you don't have to wait for a Pop-Tarts Bowl or a Holiday Bowl or to find out where you're going in another week. You get to go play in an ACC Championship, and you get a chance to maybe go to a playoff. And, let's face it, if they win this ACC Championship, now they're not guaranteed a top 4 spot. They could still be one of those teams that maybe host a playoff game, but not guaranteed a spot. So
they are at the very least guaranteed something in the college football playoff with the new rules. I just saw a tweet. Someone said 3-loss Clemson might go to the playoff, and it's just the beauty of this expansion. You've also been blocked by a potential MVP quarterback too, because Lamar Jackson has been blocked on Instagram.
Yeah, so I've been blocked by a few people. John Elway got me. Bobby Petrino,
I know that's a segue, but I'm curious.
Yeah, Bobby Petrino blocked me a while back, but I never did anything to Bobby Petrino. I never tweeted at him, never said anything. They just apparently. Whoever worked for Louisville at the time just went around blocking a bunch of Clemson writers from Bobby Petrino's account. But, yeah, I would kind of let Elway hold it about the whole Brock Osweiler, Drew Lock quarterback picks when there were obviously better quarterbacks in the draft. And eventually you just get tired of hearing from people and you block them. So, and I haven't blocked anybody in a long time. It's probably been 2 years since I've blocked anybody. And I just don't care. I just don't care.
But who's not getting blocked, or actually, who's getting blocked from a potential playoff spot is Miami. What do you do with them? Sitting at 10-2, it looks like there may not be enough room for the Canes after a disappointing loss to Syracuse. I know that to our podcast audience, we're sort of going off the beaten path here, but there's so many fascinating angles. David getting blocked by John Elway, didn't know that. Miami getting blocked out of the college football playoff, potentially. Syracuse coming in clutch. Palmetto Bowl loss. I mean, there's so much.
Well, now if you're Miami, you sit here and you go, okay, so Texas needs to take care of Texas A&M tonight, right?
Right.
Knock Texas A&M out of that conversation. If you're Miami, you really hope that SMU lays the wood to Clemson, and maybe you can be that second team to get in a playoff. But I don't think so. I think that, Miami locked up a spot today. I think Georgia's locked up a spot. Texas has. Notre Dame with their win today over Southern Cal, they've locked up a spot. Ohio State, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the Big Ten because you got Indiana and Ohio State and Penn State all vying for that spot to go play
It
Oregon.
is
Oregon's
Penn
locked up a
State.
spot.
Penn State and Oregon are playing. That's been confirmed with Penn State's win.
So what do you do with Ohio State?
Yeah, they're likely going to be an at-large team at 10-2 after the. This is a even after like 12 teams, you think, oh, this is going to be a lot easier to figure out. They've got a tough job next Sunday because obviously you have your automatic bids, but then you have 7 other teams of what are we going to do? It's worth a podcast in itself, but I think that's the beauty for Clemson fans is there's not going to be any wonder. It's going to be if you lose, you're 9-4 and you're done, or you're 10-3 and you're going to the playoff in some capacity. It's just I put it on Twitter. I was like, this is comedic. Just how this day has gone, David. You go from utter. It was a few. I'm gonna write about this for TigerNet in a bit, but it was an utter funeral procession in the media room for the players. Just they weren't wearing all black, but it sure looked like the season was dead. And now there's new life. Maybe in a way, the loss sort of jolts some established focus. I know that's probably a cliche nobody wants to hear after a South Carolina loss, but you have life, and that's all that matters at this point.
Yeah, you have life, and Dabo needs to figure out what to send to Fran Brown. There's a guy who used to work in the Clemson media market who is now a TV personality down in the Miami market by the name of Joe Gorcho, who worked in Columbia for a while. He's a Syracuse grad, and he's already blowing my phone up saying, then I need to send him a thank you card because now I get to spend next Saturday night in Charlotte. Yeah. So,
thanking him. First ACC Championship appearance ever. I haven't been to – this will be the first time. It's probably your
my 8th.
11th, 8th?
Yeah, I've been to a few of them, so it's always fun. It's always a great atmosphere. And what's funny? You've got an SMU team. There's a storyline here that agreed to come into the ACC with a reduced cut of the media rights deal. Just get us in the conference. We don't care. Against the team that's suing the ACC to get more money out of the media rights deal. Storylines galore. Rhett Lashley worked, for Gus Malzahn down at Auburn. Gus Malzahn resigns today from UCF. He's going to Florida State as the offensive coordinator. So Rhett kind of has that Chad Morris type offense going for SMU, and Jennings, once he was installed at quarterback, he's been lights out. They've got that running back, Rashid. He's good. They've got some dudes. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun week.
Yeah, SMU, it feels like, presents a lot of the same problems that we just saw Clemson have to face with another athletic, dynamic quarterback. So it's going to be a lot of the same talking points of staying on your keys and keeping the quarterback inside the pocket. But SMU is much more than their quarterback, I think. And people are going to learn about the Mustangs this week. David, do we have anything else we want to add before we really have to dive straight into Charlotte? Dabo's got a press conference tomorrow at 4:30 alongside SMU's head coach 30 minutes before that at 4. So we dive right into this in a night.
Yeah, we get going. And again, Kentucky and Clemson in basketball Tuesday. And let's get one thing straight, okay? Somebody on Twitter saying, well, Syracuse handed Clemson this. Nobody handed Clemson anything when it comes to this because both Miami and Clemson are 7-1. Or Clemson is now 7-1. Miami's now 6-2. Clemson earned it because they lost one less conference game than Miami. And, of course, SMU ran the table. So Clemson earned this trip to the ACC Championship. There was no backdoor or anything like that. Miami 6-2, Clemson 7-1. Clemson earned its way into the ACC Championship.
Yep, and you won your last 2 games on the road. You had a game-winning drive on the road.
Georgia Tech.
And shout out to Georgia Tech and Haynes King. What a game last night from the Yellow Jackets. Brent Key, I have no doubt, will be in Charlotte at some point with his Yellow Jackets. But David, ACC championship prep begins almost immediately. We'll have probably a podcast preview. We will have a podcast preview this week, and then we'll have an aftermath in Charlotte. Regardless, we'll be talking about Clemson as a playoff team, or we'll be talking about Clemson as a 4-loss ACC runner-up. But guys, thank you so much for the support. It's sort of a mixed bag on this podcast, but it represents the chaos of Saturday and just everything that comes with it. We'll have plenty more on TigerNet, so stay tuned. If you stayed throughout this entire podcast, why not subscribe or leave us a review on Spotify? Thank you so much to our sponsors. They've kept us rolling for the regular season, and you guys have kept us rolling as well. Take care. We'll see y'all in Charlotte. Have a good one.